हेलो इग्नू पॉइंट, कैसे हैं आप सब। आई होप आप सब अच्छे होंगे। आज का हमारा जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो है डीएनएचई का डिप्लोमा इन न्यूट्रिशन एंड हेल्थ एजुकेशन, जिसमें हमें साइनॉप्सिस बनानी है और इससे रिलेटेड रिपोर्ट तैयार करनी है। फिर उसे हमें स्टडी सेंटर से अप्रूव करवाना पड़ेगा और उस पर कोऑर्डिनेटर के साइन करवाने पड़ेंगे। तो आज के हमारे साइनॉप्सिस का टॉपिक है ओबेसिटी प्रिवलेंस अमंग स्कूल चिल्ड्रन इन द एज ग्रुप ऑफ 13 to 17 ईयर्स। सबमिटेड बाय नेम, रोल नंबर, सबमिटेड टू। इसे आप टाइप वर्जन में भी सबमिट कर सकते हैं। इंट्रोडक्शन। Obesity can be defined as a disease in which excess body fat has accumulated such that health may be adversely affected. Obesity is a complex multifactorial chronic disease developing from interactive influence of numerous factors: social, behavioral, physiological, metabolical, cellular and molecular genetic. Clinically, it's defined for adult as body mass index BMI which is equal and greater than 30. Determining whether growing children are obese is difficult. Some excess weight may be gained at either end of the childhood spectrum. The 1-year-old toddler and the prepubescent child may weight more for development and physical reasons, but this extra weight is often not permanent. Only considering height and weight when determining whether a child weight is appropriate does not take into account children with significant muscle mass. BMI, a useful clinical tool for assessing weight in comparison to height, has limitation in determining obesity because of variability related to sex, race, and maturation stage. However, CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, development growth chart for children 2 to 20 years taking into account age and gender. So children can be monitored frequently and prevention of or intervention provided at a young age. Nowadays, obesity is a major serious public health problem and a big challenge since its prevalence is accelerating rapidly not only in developed but also in developing countries. Khader et 2008. Obesity may develop at any age in either sex. Several factors may contribute to the development of obesity. Obesity develops over time, and once it develops, it is difficult to treat. Obesity should not be regarded simply as a cosmetic problem affecting certain individuals, but a crisis that threatens global well being. Objective of the study. General objective. The general objective of the study was to assess the prevalence of overweight and obesity among school children in the age group of 13 to 17 years in New Delhi. Specific objectives: to assess the prevalence of overweight and obesity among the boys and girls in the New Delhi. B. To assess the prevalence of obesity, overweight among children of different socio-economic status groups. C. To assess the relationship between BMI of students and physical activity and eating habits. Rationale of the study. A fundamental step in the preventing and control of obesity is the identification of risk factors contributing to the rapid increase of obesity. Relevant research in the area in India is minimal and the data available is mostly inconsistent and often based on statistically in, inadequate sample size, making it difficult to assess the prevalence of overweight and obesity at country as well as state level in relation to a wide age range of children 13 to 17 years. Therefore, it was proposed to carry out a study to assess and identify the prevalence and determinants of overweight and obesity among urban school going children, covering statistically adequate sample in New Delhi, which is one of the economically, industrially, and culturally fast growing state. Obesity prevalence depended on many factors. During the scanning of relevant literature, not a single study was found in impact of obesity in school children has been examined in New Delhi. So it was considered to study the impact of the three variable on obesity, overweight, socioeconomic states, eating habits, and physical activity of the children as a variable. Methodology and source of data. Research methodology is a way to systematically investigate the research problem. It gave various steps in conducting and research in a systematic and a logical way. Research design. Research design. The present study will be descriptive and analytical, and it was based on both primary and secondary source of data. Primary data. Primary source consists of questionnaire come interview schedule, which will be used for collecting information from the selected sample. Secondary data. Secondary source will be comprised of information obtained from books, published and unpublished dissertations, journals, and the latest information from internet. Sample. A sample of 100 children, 50 from government and 50 from private school, in the age group of 13 to 17 years will be selected from 4 schools, 2 government and 2 private institutions. 100 students, 50 government school, 50 private school. Tool used for data collection. KAP questions will be the tool used to assess the knowledge, attitude and the practice among the prevalence of obesity among children. फिर आपको बिब्लियोग्राफी दी गई है एंड द सोर्स वेबसाइट कहाँ से ये सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन आपने ली है. इसमें बेसिकली आपको बताया गया है कि ओबेसिटी जो आजकल बहुत ही जनरल हो गया है, मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा ही कॉमन हो गया है बिटवीन द एज ग्रुप ऑफ 13 to 17 ईयर्स के चिल्ड्रंस में, जिसमें एक्सेस बॉडी फैट एक्यूमुलेट हो जाता है बॉडी पे, जो बहुत ही ज़्यादा मेजर प्रॉब्लम हो गई है आजकल. ये एक पर्टिकुलर सेक्स का नहीं होता, ये किसी भी मतलब जेंडर को हो सकता है. कोई ऐसा चाहे ये फिजिकली हो या बिहेवियर से भी, आजकल जो जंक फूड्स खा रहे हैं बच्चे, और ये जेनेटिकली भी होता है. साइनॉप्सिस के बाद आपको रिपोर्ट तैयार करनी है उसी टॉपिक पे. तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं. ओबेसिटी प्रिवलेंस अमंग स्कूल चिल्ड्रन इन द एज ग्रुप ऑफ 13 to 17 ईयर्स. फिर वही सब लिखना है. सबमिटेड बाय नेम, एनरोलमेंट नंबर, सबमिटेड टू. फिर आपको कंटेंट लिखना है कि क्या क्या कंटेंट है उसमें. इंट्रोडक्शन, रिव्यू एंड रिलेटेड लिटरेचर्स, methodology of the study, analysis and interpretation, conclusion and suggestion, bibliography, questionnaire. ओके, इंट्रोडक्शन आपको बता दिया, उसमें भी आपने लिखा था. आपको इसमें पूरा इंट्रोडक्शन देना है, पूरा उससे रिलेटेड, उसके रिस्क फैक्टर्स. A variety of factors contribute to a children obese state, many of which are preventable through healthy lifestyle choices such as balanced eating and physical activity. Education about the risk of or obesity may also contribute to overall health. A high calorie and low nutrient dense food diet associated with very low levels of activity is the most common cause of obesity in the children. In other words, in most cases, childhood obesity is the result of caloric imbalance. Too few calories are expended for the amount of calories that are consumed. Children may also be at risk of becoming obese due to genetics, physiological and socioeconomic factors and familial influence. Genetic may cause an increase in susceptibility in weight gain for youth, but genetics must exist in combination with environmental and behavioral factor to have a significant impact on the development of obesity. In some cases, genetics can play a significant role in causing obesity, but the outstanding rise cannot primarily be from genetic alone. The population genetic characteristics have not changed as strikingly in the last 3 decades, yet the prevalence of childhood obesity has climbed to nearly 3 times its value 30 years prior. prior. Behaviorally and environmental factors must be examined in addition to the possibility of genetic attribution. Single behavior cannot directly cause obesity, but they may add to an individual's caloric imbalance and, as a result, contribute to obesity. Energy or caloric intake, physical activity levels, and sedentary behavior are important behavior factors that may contribute to childhood obesity. Today's population of children and adolescents are generally consuming excess energy in several different forms. Contributing factors of excess energy intake are the large portion of food and drink that are offered at most restaurants, eating meals out of the home, frequent snacking on energy dense foods, and drinking beverages such as soda pop and energy drinks with high levels of sugars. There's growing evidence of the association of consuming excess sugar sweetened drinks with a high number of calories and weight gain in youth. In addition to this, liquids forms of energy are not as filling and can lead to more intake of calories. Physical activity in children has been proven to not only have a positive impact on body weight but also on blood pressure and bone strength. Children that are active are more likely to be active teens and later adults. This corresponds to the statistics of 70% of obese children becoming obese adults, because if active children mature into active adults, they have a decreased chance of becoming obese. Children activity should be incorporated into school age children's days. However, between 1991 and 2003, there was a 14 percentage point drop in physical activity in the school. The percentage is changed from 42% in 1991 of all school age children participating in physical activity at school to 28% in 2003. In addition to this, less than one third of high school students are meeting their daily activity level requirements. Schools should implement more activity into their students' days to help meet activity level requirements, but another factor must be considered in the decrease of students meeting their physical activity needs. Media sources have influenced the amount of exercise children are getting because of the significant amount of time they spend watching TV, movies, playing video games on the computer, or other sedentary behaviors. Research published by the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation 2004 have shown that there is a positive correlation between time spent watching TV and increased prevalence of childhood obesity. The reason of this are children are spending their time in front of some type of media source instead of participating in physical activity. They tend to consume numerous calorie snacks during this time. They are exposed to food advertisement which may influence unhealthy food choices. A lack of physical activity lowers their metabolic rates. The environments where children spend most of their time in are critical in influencing food choices and physical activity levels. Within the home environment, parents are the role model for their children, and usually their children have similar eating habits and activity levels. Almost 80% of children under the age of 5 with working mothers are in some type of children care facilities. Child care provides are sharing the responsibility of shaping young children's eating and physical activity behaviors during a crucial development period in the children's lives. The majority of children aged 5 to 17 are enrolled in school, and they spend most of their day at school, making the school environment an important player in influencing healthy behaviors. In response to the obesity epidemic, more schools are taking active roles in improving the nutrition and physical activity levels of students. In addition to the home, child care setting, and school environment, the community environment where one lives in can directly affect one behavioral patterns. Communities with less access to safe parks and biking or walking pathway may reduce the likelihood of children walking or biking to school, as well as children not playing outside in parks or recreation areas. Affordability of healthy food is another issue within the community because if there is no access to affordable healthy food, people in that neighborhood will be less likely to buy healthy food. Low income groups tends to have a higher prevalence of obese children due to high cost of healthy food, low availability of fast food, and lack of time to cook healthy meals. The community environment may be a factor linking prevalence of obesity in low income neighborhoods. According to the CDC, non Hispanic black girls had the highest prevalence of obesity, and among the boys, Hispanic children ranked the highest. In a recent study, researchers found that about 10% of children under age 2, more than 10% of 2 to 5 years old, 19.6 of percent of 6 to 11 years old, and 18.1% of 12 through 19 years old were at or above the 95 percentile for body mass index. Health implications. Children that are obese most commonly have healthy problems that are directly correlated to high percentage of body fat. Type 2 diabetes, most commonly developed by adults, is now being diagnosed in children daily. Obese children are more likely to develop asthma, sleep apnea, hypertension, liver disease, and metabolic syndrome. Childhood obesity can cause pain through all the associated medical problems, but children can also experience joint and back pain because their musculoskeletal system is not built to support the extra weight. Obese children may also experience discomfort at school from being too big to comfortably fit in the desk. Children who are obese have a 70% chances of becoming an obese adult with increased health complications. The health problems seen in obese children are amplified in the obese adult. 90% of type 2 diabetics have a BMI greater than 23. Obese adults have a 5 times greater chances of developing hypertension that can later develop into other form of heart disease. The occurrence of cancer, liver disease, gallbladder disease, respiratory problems, and osteoarthritis all increase as BMI increases. Impact of obesity on individual and family. Along with these health problems, children can also suffer from low self-esteem, bullying, depression, and problems in school. Obese children are concerned and insecure about their body image and physical appearance and suffer from social rejection and emotion hurts. Consequences of such emotion may cause isolation and social withdrawal, which in turn may worsen obesity with increased likelihood of behaviors such as overreact, overreacting and sedentary activity. It is apparent that discrimination and prejudice are part of everyday life for most obese children. Childhood obesity has an impact on the family because of the higher medical costs correlated with poor health caused by obesity. Successful interventions of childhood obesity involve the entire family participating in healthier lifestyle with the parents as their role models. Childhood obesity's impact on society is shown through the rising cost of health care associated with obesity. Medical costs linked to obesity are exerting a burden on social and economic development. Currently, the burden of obesity-related health cost is $147 billion a year, and the average obese person spends about 40% more on health care than the average weight persons. In addition to the high direct medical costs due to obesity, obese children have a high prevalence of becoming obese adults. Obese adults are not as physically fit, which interferes with productivity. This may add another burden to both society and economics. So, इसकी summary. Childhood obesity is a continually growing problems in today's society. Identify risk factors such as poor nutrition and inadequate physical activity are important in understanding the etiology of obesity. Other factors contribute to child's obese state, but it is preventable factors that this study will focus on. Educating children about healthy eating, the importance of physical activity, and obesity facts is critical in ending the obesity epidemic. If educational interventions in school can be shown to be effective in increasing children's knowledge about obesity risk factor, then perhaps this may prevent the increasing obesity problem. In addition to preventing obesity, children will be more knowledge about healthy lifestyle and will potentially choose to engage in healthy behaviors, which will then not only benefits their own health but benefits that of their families, societies, and economic. Rationale of the study. Available evidence shows that one of the effective ways to prevent obesity in the adult life may be prevent and management of childhood and adolescence overweight and obesity. A fundamental step in the preventing and control of obesity is the identification of risk factor contributing to the rapid increase of obesity. Relevant researches in this area in India is minimal, and the data available is mostly inconsistent and often based on satisfactorily inadequate sample size, making it difficult to assess and prevalence of overweight and obesity at country as well as state level in relation to a wide age range of children 13 to 17 years. Therefore, it was proposed to carry out a study to assess and identify the prevalence and determinants of overweight and obesity among urban school going children, covering statistically adequate sample in New Delhi, which is one of the economically, industrially, and culturally fast growing state. Obesity prevalence depends on many factors. During the scanning of relevant literature, not a single study was found in the impact of obesity in school children has been examined in New Delhi. So it was considered to study the impact of the three variables in obesity, overweight, socioeconomic status, eating habits, and physical activity of the children as a variable. However, in the light of the studies cited above, it can be said that studies pertaining to the investigation of obesity and its determinants in relation to the above mentioned three variables are still scanty. Therefore, an attempt will be made in the present investigation to study the problem of obesity in the light of socioeconomic status, high economic status group and low economic status groups, eating habits, that is excess food consumption and less food consumption, and physical activity, that is physically active and physically inactive, of the school going children of New Delhi. The finding of the study will help in formulation of strategies to prevent and control the problem among the target groups. So, next is scope and objective of the study. Childhood obesity is a public health problem of increased concern in developed world and in population undergoing cultural transition. Keeping the increasing trends of obesity in mind, the present study has been undertaken. The study focused on the comparison of obesity among children studying in government and private schools in Delhi. General objectives. The general objective of the study was to assess the prevalence of overweight and obesity among school children in the age group of 13 to 17 years in New Delhi. Specific objective to assess the prevalence of overweight and obesity among the boys and girls in the New Delhi, to assess the prevalence of obesity, overweight among children of different socio-economic status groups, relationship between BMI of students and physical activity and eating habits, review of related literature. Following are some review and related literature of the proposed study. इसमें आपको रिव्यूज़ दिए गए हैं. अलग अलग एरियाज़ के रिव्यूज़ दिए गए हैं. मैथडोलॉजी एंड सोर्स ऑफ डाटा, जो भी आपने जो डाटा किस सोर्स से लिया है वो सब बताया गया है. रिसर्च डिज़ाइन, प्राइमरी डाटा, सेकेंडरी डाटा, सैम्पल, जो हमने ऊपर भी देखा था. Tool used for data collections, analysis of data. Data obtained through questionnaire was consolidated, analyzed, and interpreted as per the requirement of objectives using specific statistical tools, mean and standard deviations. The by percentage, government school and private school. Mode of transportations. हाँ, ये आपको सारे ग्राफ्स बना के दिखाए हैं कि प्राइवेट स्कूल में इतने हैं, मतलब कैसे ट्रांसपोर्टेशन उनका क्या है, कैसे वो जाते हैं, कितना वो टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं टीवी पे, एक्टिविटीज़, ये सारे अफेक्ट करते हैं ना ओबेसिटी को. कि आप अगर ज़्यादातर बैठ के, आजकल जो बच्चे हो गए वो बाहर फिज़िकल एक्टिविटीज़ में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करते हैं, सिर्फ घर पे बैठ के टीवी के सामने या फिर फ़ोन चलाते रहते हैं और बस अनहेल्दी चीज़ें कंज्यूम करते रहते हैं ड्यूरिंग वॉचिंग टीवीज़ और मोबाइल्स. तो जो उन्हें अफेक्ट कर रहा है उनके हेल्थ पे. तो उनका डाटा है कि प्राइवेट स्कूल के बच्चे कैसे ज़्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं. उनके बीच में एक ग्राफ्स बनाया गया है कि एक्टिविटीज़ वो कितना क्या एक्टिविटीज़ खेलते भी है या नहीं खेलते हैं. प्रोटीन कितना मतलब इनटेक करते हैं, प्रोटीन इनटेक लेवल्स, फैट इनटेक लेवल्स. Factor associated with childhood obesity. The dramatic increase in childhood obesity in the recent decades has focused attention on various factors and their interaction during growth that may result in the deposition of excess fat. Because of the speed and magnitude of change in the prevalence of obesity in so many populations, a significant modification in the gene pool cannot be considered as a main cause. Rather, the environmental factor that may influence the genetic predisposition of an organism to be or not to be expressed as now are now considered the main contributing factor to the surge in obesity prevalence. Many studies from developed countries have focused on various environmental factors in the development of childhood obesity. To clarify the cause of this current epidemic of obesity, although the biological factors in developed and developing countries would be the same, the social backgrounds and environmental factors in developing countries differ from those of the developed countries. Therefore, it is important to examine the social and environmental factors influencing the development of childhood obesity, because there is a dearth of literature on factors associated with overweight and obesity among Indian pre-social children. Socio-demographic variables of parents with respect to increasing weight in early childhood. Socio-demographic characteristics such as education, employment, and socio-economic status of the parents may predispose a child to the risk of being overweight. Martorell at 2000, Vogels et al. 2006, Chakrabarti and Anderson to 2010. Socio-demographic variables include type of family and education, state of parents, and employment status of mother. Type of family. Family is a group of two or more individuals who resides in the same household, although the term family often refers to the conventional family unit consisting of biological parents and children, formerly known as nuclear family. The joint family system is a type of extended family composed of parents, their children, and the children's spouses and offspring is one household. The distribution of family structures vary among contribute countries, with the proportion of nuclear family system increasing. Qua 2005, family types has been suggested to be particularly responsible for increased prevalence of overweight and obesity. Educational status of parents. Education attainment of a society's population is an important indicator of the society's stock of human capital and its level of socio-economic development. Education also enhances the ability of individuals to achieve desired demographic and health goals. Parental education level is related to occupational status and consequently socio-economic status of the family. Martrall et al. 2000, Von Kreis et al. 2002 and Lammers et al. 2005 observed an association between maternal education and childhood overweight among preschool children. उनमें पूरा एजुकेशनल स्टेटस बताया गया है पेरेंट्स के बारे में, मदर्स की एम्प्लॉयमेंट्स, ईटिंग स्पीड, स्लीप ड्यूरेशन, ये सारे फैक्टर्स जो है वो ओबेसिटी को मतलब कॉज होते हैं सारे. चाइल्डहुड ओबेसिटी इन इंडिया, क्या तब जो चाइल्डहुड ओबेसिटी है वो इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट प्रैक्टिस टू प्रिवेंट चाइल्डहुड ओबेसिटी, गवर्नमेंट क्या क्या कर रही है और चाइल्डहुड ओबेसिटी को कम करने के लिए, प्रिवेंट करने के लिए. क्लीन वाटर एंड सैनिटेशंस, डिस्कशन. समरी एंड कंक्लूजन. जो भी हमने पूरा लिखा है उसका पूरा समरी और कंक्लूजन क्या निकला वो सब. सजेशंस, बिब्लियोग्राफी, ये आपका बिब्लियोग्राफी आ गया जो आपने उसमें भी लिखा था, और वेबसाइट्स कहाँ से हमने सारी ये जो भी हमें इंफॉर्मेशन मिली है वो उसके वेबसाइट्स. क्वेश्चनियर, डेमोग्राफिक प्रोफाइल बनानी है आपको, एज क्या है, टाइप ऑफ फैमिली, एजुकेशन लेवल, एंथ्रोपोमेट्रिक मेजरमेंट्स, क्लिनिकल एग्जामिन्स, KAP एनालिसिस ऑफ ऑन ओबेसिटी, क्या कॉज है, इसमें मतलब क्वेश्चंस दिए गए हैं, और एटीट्यूड क्वेश्चनर. सो हमारा यहाँ पर प्रोजेक्ट ख़त्म होता है. रिपोर्ट, अगर आपको कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम हो या इसका PDF चाहिए हो तो आप हमें हमारे व्हाट्सएप पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं जो डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में अवेलेबल हो, या और भी कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन असाइनमेंट से रिलेटेड या रिटन असाइनमेंट से रिलेटेड भी कोई भी इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए हो तो आप हमें हमारे व्हाट्सएप पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू.